The history of our family and our business has its origins back in the mid-20s. Our grandfather came out from the former Yugoslavia. He came out to Australia to look for a life for himself and his family. He went and worked on the wood line in Kalgoorlie, cutting wood, and saved hard, sent money home to bring out his arranged wife-to-be, and had a couple of boys who he instilled the values of education in them as a way of getting them out of the vineyard and into a better life. So both of those boys went on to study engineering, both became engineers, and one of them was our father. His name was Vojka, and he met my mother, Elizabeth Elsie Miosovic, and they eventually started the family business. And on the bottom of the checkbook, there was V and EE Miosovic, so it wasn't terribly creative, but the name Veem came from their initials. Being a good Croatian family, when Dad went to work, we all went to work. So certainly for myself and my older brother Mark, we went with Dad. Weekends and after school and holidays for us were more about cleaning workshops, driving balancing machines, and we learned a lot. We learned from a very early age exactly our father's values in the business. Unfortunately, our father passed away at a very early age, at about 43, in fact 43, 1976, and it was a huge shock to the family. My mother was a very strong lady, was determined to keep the business running, and so we put it to Mum that we should be able to run this better than what the caretaker managers were. So to Mum's credit, she signed the business over to us in 1982 and said, just make sure you send me a cheque every month, and we have. Never missed a beat, and it's worked really quite well. One thing we did realise about when we took over was that we had an engineering company. At that stage it was only small. I think there was about 16 people, including us three. And then we quickly worked out that we needed money, so I went off and studied a Bachelor of Commerce in Banking and Finance. And our eldest brother Gary, he was already working the business as a first-class machinist. So we had a real unique blend of hands-on ability and knowledge of the business, but we also had some formal qualifications that we could rely on. And then we set about finding the very best people in the fields that we wanted to work in, and we identified that a good pathway for us would be to pursue business that had a very high technical and capital barrier to entry. And so we discovered aerospace and defence type contracting. One of the great differences in a family business is that you can often select the areas that you're really passionate about. And this was evident in our business with our marine propulsion. We liked boating, we liked engineering, the fit was there. We pursued defence work, which led to us acquiring a company and a foundry, and with it came this ability to make these propellers. And then we set forward to discover better ways to make them. So we pursued the path of automation, where we employed some of the youngest and brightest minds in engineering and robotics, and we now fully manufacture all of our propulsion systems. The strength of our family business has been that knowing that I had my brothers who were competent and who were trusted, who could pick up the slack. And this ability allows us to achieve collectively what you wouldn't otherwise be able to do. And I think that there's a cultural thing where you get this collective culture over time, a collective wisdom. We've seen that and recognise that the transition can be problematic. In fact, I see it as family businesses as probably as their major concern, and we found that the best way to achieve that was a slightly different focus. We put a lot of emphasis on getting the company to a stage where it was of a size and we had a path forward that we could list on the stock exchange, as we saw this was a better way to ensure the success of the business through intergenerational change. If you look at the achievements of the company over the years, there's quite a few standout key points that pop up, and I think that our grandfather obviously coming out to Australia, being a great worker and a saver, helped my parents buy land at the back of the airport in Guildford, and then Mum and Dad having the foresight to sell that and use that money to buy land in Willerton to build our new facilities, which ultimately we sold to finance to build this. So there are major achievements and milestones which were laid down for myself and my brothers. All of that leads through to our greatest achievement to date will be the listing on the Australian Stock Exchange. Being inducted into the Hall of Fame for us as a family is really centred around recognising the achievements of past generations, and in particular my mother. Elizabeth could have easily walked from the business. She was 38 years old, just lost her husband, had 3 robust teenage boys. It was a big call. It was a big call. It would have been far easier for her to simply step aside, sell the business. She had opportunity to do that. She made a conscious decision not to do that, and that single act and allowing the next generation to be involved in the business is something that really should be celebrated. She deserves the recognition that being inducted into the Family Business Australia Hall of Fame, that would give myself and I know Mark tremendous pleasure to see that happen.